Hello, I'm here with Sorcerer's Apprentice Mickey in my little basketball arena for our next episode of Toy Box Tutorials. Today we're going to examine the sports goals, and you'll find these toys in the sports toys drawer, and there are 3 of them. We have the soccer goal. I'll just place this out here. We have the basketball hoop. And we have the goal post. And these are all identical, except the soccer goal has an extra property that the other 2 don't have. But I'll cover that in a moment. Since we're going to be looking primarily at the basketball hoop, we'll look at this one first. So if we open the logic menu for this, you'll notice you can connect it to a locator, and I'll show you that in a moment. You can connect it to a path, so you can make this goal move along a path, which could make for some interesting games. And there's some properties. And if you look under the properties, there's one property, and it's called Scored Object Action. And by default, it's none, which means nothing will happen to the object that goes into the goal. It'll just go into the goal, through the hoop in this case, and drop through to the ground below. But if you open this little menu, if you select that, you'll notice there's actually 3 options here. The first is defeat, and this will essentially destroy the object that goes through the hoop, whether that's a ball or a townsperson or whatever. And there's also a reset property, and if you set this, that will reset the object that drops through the hoop to the location that you specify with the connected locator, and I'll demonstrate that in a moment. And there's also some logic connections. So when a basket is scored, an object passes through the hoop. If you select that, you can specify whether it would be anything that passes through the hoop, or a physics ball, or an AI like a townsperson or an enemy, or a team member. So those are the trigger signals. So whenever any of those things pass through and a basket is scored, you can hook this trigger signal up to any other toy. And I'll demonstrate that in a moment too. The goal post is basically identical to this. The only difference being the name of the signal, which is goal scored instead of basket scored. Everything else here, though, is the same. The soccer goal, however, has a little bit different properties. If you look under here, there's one extra property here that's kick out. It's something the other 2 do not have. So when a ball or a hockey puck or something enters the goal, this will kick it out and away from the goal, and that's the default behavior instead of none, which is the default for the other 2. So what happens, for example, with this, if I drop a hockey puck here, and you've probably noticed this if you've played with this toy at all, we'll go ahead and push this into the goal. It kicks it out and away from the goal. Now, one of the things you have to be careful of with this, of course, if you've played around with this, is it kicks it straight out. So if you have another soccer goal directly across the way, those 2 goals are going to play catch with each other. So that's something to be aware of. One more thing also to be aware of with the soccer goal is there's another little bit different logic connection, of course. It's goal scored instead of basket scored. So the name of this is the same as the goal post, and the options are all the same. So those are the goals. Let's go ahead and place a basketball hoop here into our court. And you'll notice with this, there's no pole. So I find that kind of lacking a little bit. So we're going to bring this over here. I'm going to place this one nudge out away from that wall. I think maybe 2 actually. We'll put it there. And we're going to go ahead and add a little pole for this. So if you go to the platforming toys drawer, you have this flagpole base, and this will sit right in here behind it. And yeah, it's not really attached, but when you're out here in the court, that just looks a little better to me. So I like that. The other thing we need, though, is a way to get the ball up into the air and through the hoop. And as you saw in my Sports Toys overview, there's a couple of different ways to do that. I'm going to use the Scream Energy Launcher from the manhole cover. And I'm going to put this right on the seam here between these two blocks, lined directly up with the hoop. So if you placed your blocks exactly where I did, this is where it goes. And if you're not quite sure, you can look at the stadium stand over there and the little divider and use that as a guide. But that's where that goes. And that will get the ball up into the air so it can go into the hoop. Alright, so by default, the property under here is set to none. So let's drop a basketball out here, and we'll just take a quick look at what each of these properties does. So we'll drop the ball, and then I'll sit Mickey down right over here. Okay, so there we go. So if we push the ball now toward the goal, that puts it up and into the hoop, and it just drops through to the ground below. So that's pretty straightforward. Let's go ahead and set this now to defeat, and we'll reset the ball. And some of you, if you've played with the Sports Toys, I'm sure you're already familiar with this, but some of you may not have ever played with these before. So I just kind of want to show you what these do. Alright, once again, let's put this up into the basket. And as you can see, as it entered the basket, it got deleted. So that's what that property does. So you can kind of have the basketball hoop clean up after you if you want. And then the third version of this is the reset. And for that to work, you have to have a locator connected. So let me go ahead and drop a locator here from the Creativitoys drawer. And we'll put this down where we're putting the ball right now. If we come to the basket, new locator connection, connect that up. And let's go ahead and put our basketball right on that locator. All right. So now it disappeared, but you can see it placed it at the locator that we connected it. And so that's what reset does. And you can use that for any of the sports goals. So once they score the goal, you can put the ball back at the starting point at the middle of the arena or wherever you want it. So that's helpful. All right. So let's go ahead and remove that connected locator. I'll delete that link. And for right now, let's just put this back to none. So nothing will happen to the ball when it goes through here. All right, for the logic connections, when a basket is scored by physics ball, let's go ahead and hook this up to the stadium stands and have them cheer. We'll do loud cheering. We're going to do this for each of the stadium stands. So it's a little bit tedious if you have a large arena to have to hook all of these things up, but it's well worth it, as you'll see in a moment. It just adds a whole new dimension to the game. Makes it much more interesting. Alright, so there we have it, hooked up to all... Oops, not that one in the back. Missed that one. I thought I might be missing one. There we go. And as you'll see, I took the 6 buttons out that I had placed over here last time, but I left the repeater and the randomizer because we're going to be using those. Okay, the basketball hoop is hooked up. Let's go ahead and put the ball through and see what happens now. And Mickey is a star! Woohoo! Well, I think that just about covers the sports goals. If you're following along with my little build, then you can go ahead and save this toy box. And before you do, you can delete this locator, because we're not going to need that next time. You can delete the ball. And we're going to go ahead for our game and set this property to defeat. And we'll leave all the logic connections to the stadium stands, because we're going to keep them hooked up for next time. But next time we'll look at one more new creativity that we'll need to build our basketball game, and then we'll implement the full logic for our game. Thanks for watching my video today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the like button and leave a comment before you go. I always love to hear from my viewers. And if you like Disney Infinity and my videos, but you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, what are you waiting for? Click my photo in the lower right corner of this video and make sure your notifications are on, and then you'll never miss a new episode when it airs. Take care.